Hey, David Starr here again with another episode of On Guitars. As usual, I'm here in my guitar store, my happy place, and it's a happy place for a lot of folks that come in here. Interesting thing, we're kind of in a small town. You know, Cedaredge is under 2,500 people. There's a larger population in the valley, but by and large, it's like a small town. Anywhere, and so one would think, gosh, how can you do enough business? You must do all your business online. Not true. We have a lot of people that come in here because they heard about us, and if you're a guitar person, you know. You'll find the guitars. You'll sniff them out. Same with guns and golf clubs and anything else, you know, antiques, whatever it is you're into. You know where to look for this stuff, and we're no different. We have people come from all over the country and, in fact, all over the world. One of my favorite stories was I tour England and Scotland every year, except for this year, in the last half of May, and was playing at we have a lovely friend, Jan Brookfield, who's kind enough to host a little soiree every year when we go over and I play, and some other folks play, and we have a great time. And a fellow came up to me and said that he bought a banjo in this store, and he lives in England, in Dudley, England. So don't think we're just an online store. It's everybody's happy place. That was the point of that story. Today's guitar probably has a lot of tales to tell. I've had this one for 7, 8 years, maybe 9. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. For you guitar guys and gals, this is a 1957, we think, Gibson LG2. The LGs came in two models, the LG1 and the LG2. The bracing, which is the stuff that kind of holds things together underneath the top. This guitar has what's called X bracing. The LG1 had ladder bracing, which basically, if you think of a ladder underneath here instead of a big X, they sound different. These are typically a bigger sounding guitar, even though everything about them is the same except that bracing issue. So, what's the story on this one? Well, real quickly, let's give you a rundown of what's here. Don't know if those are the original tuners, but they sure do look like it. They're pretty beat up. As I recall, maybe a couple of these buttons had been replaced, but the actual 3-on-a-plate tuners are original. Never been cracked. If you're out shopping for vintage guitars, it's always good to look right here. Well, any guitar, vintage or not. If you see that it's been repaired there, it's kind of a red flag, although it could be fine. I've got a couple that have been repaired. They'll probably outlive me just fine. This one's got lots of wear on the back of the neck. Just means it's been loved a lot and played a lot. Mahogany back and sides, spruce top. Really nice, weathered, beat up, weather-checked, sunburst top. If you're into guitars at all, you probably know that a few years back, the whole thing of pre-distressing guitars got started, and it's completely out of hand, thanks to Fender and some other companies, where you take a perfectly good guitar and then you just beat the heck out of it and make it look like it's 55 years old. I get it, and I don't get it. So I've got an old, I'm lucky enough to have a 1958 Strat. I have this old guitar. And they have the battle scars, and some of them are from me and some are from whoever had it before me. But it's a really nice sounding guitar. And one of the things that's important to me about it is that I've written a fair bit number of songs on it. Having access to guitars that I could, take home for the night and work with and whatnot, I did some of that over the years, but it wasn't until I started playing this guitar, seems to me, whether the planets just aligned, and I was playing this at a time when I had something to say as a songwriter, or, maybe it brought something out in me, but maybe there are old ghosts in these guitars. I don't know. But certainly somebody played it a lot before I got to it. And aside from the sort of cosmetic things, it doesn't have any real structural problems. Might have had a crack or two that's been fixed, but pretty good guitar. When I picked this up to do this little video today, I realized that the last thing I worked on was in Dadgad Tuning. So I was reminded of the advice I give to people sometimes if they ask me. They say, do you know anything about alternate tunings? The answer is not a lot. We have books here on that, and I look at them from time to time, but I don't study that stuff a lot. But several years ago, and I don't go back with this alternate tuning stuff as far as a lot of you guys, but several years ago, our old friend Kenny Edwards passed away, and the anniversary of his death is coming up. And I'll just tell you, there was a song of his I wanted to learn, and I couldn't figure it out. And I listened to it, and I thought, what? I don't know what he's doing. And so I found a clip on YouTube that he did. Seemed to me it was for a radio show or something, a live thing. And I watched what he was doing and realized he was in what appeared to be Dadgad Tuning for that song. And it opened up my brain and it opened up my eyes. And I thought, well, everybody's been ahead of me on this thing for years. But that's, you learn it when you learn it. And once I figured that out a little bit, and there's still a lot to explore, I wrote a whole bunch of stuff in Dadgad. Now you got to be careful because it can all end up sounding kind of alike, but that's where melody and lyrics and arrangement come in. But it was a revelation for me, and we all have those little moments, those little epiphanies. I'll just play a little of that. That was a song called Fever, and I ended up recording that on a record, and this doesn't respond to capos all that well. As I mentioned in a previous video, I think, some guitars you put a capo on, you don't have to retune them. This one acts, I'll just do it in this. Something that simple. So there's your 1 chord. There's your 4 chord. Here's your 5 chord. Which I don't think actually occurs in the song. But it's that simple, So my advice to people, as I was saying earlier, tried to say earlier, is if you want to learn some alternate tunings, get a second guitar, whether it's just an inexpensive practice guitar or something like this that you've got around the house. Tune it that way and leave it that way, because when you reach for it, it'll have something to say to you, because this one does every time I pick it up. There's a song on my Alive Again record that I wrote for Cindy called Feels Like Coming Home. I wrote that on this guitar. Finished it on the piano, but it had its roots on this guitar. Then when I went to Nashville to make that album, this guitar went with me to work on doing the arrangements and the charting and all that sort of thing. So this one's kind of got a little story. I didn't think about it until I picked it up today and started having a little conversation with it. Again, it's got the Shirtler sound hole pickup in it. Doesn't have the little mic. It's a good sounding pickup. If you're interested, let me know. But there's a song on my South and West album called Good Is Gone. And that song was born maybe on this guitar, right here in this room, sitting in the store one day. It's how it happens sometimes. Anyway, this is a great little guitar. If you can find one of these that's in pretty good shape, get one, because I don't know, it's a great size, great companion for songwriting. Thing you want to watch for on old Gibsons and Martins is whether or not the action's really high up here. Guitar people know all that, but if you never kind of gotten into the guitar world, and you're looking at used guitars, because they could need a neck reset, which gets to be kind of an expensive thing to do. It's worth it sometimes, but it can be expensive. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.